Conversations about student loan debt cancellation have brought another form of loan forgiveness into the limelight. We're talking about the Paycheck Protection Program, which gave out loans to businesses during the height of the pandemic, and most of them have been forgiven. Casey Decker with our National Verify team is breaking down the data on how the two forms of forgiveness compare.
President Biden just announced a plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student debt for some people. When critics attacked the plan, the White House responded on Twitter by pointing out some of those critics had gotten even larger loans forgiven by the government. Those loans weren't student loans, they were Paycheck Protection Program loans. The PPP was created during the early stages of the pandemic to provide business owners with cash so they wouldn't have to lay off workers. According to the Treasury Department, as long as the loans were used to cover payroll, they could be, and often have been, forgiven. Recently, many people have claimed that the average forgiven PPP loan was much larger than the 10 to 20 grand in forgiveness that many students are now receiving. This tweet from Senator Bernie Sanders says the average amount of debt forgiveness to businesses was more than $95,000. So let's verify. Is the average amount forgiven for PPP loans greater than $20,000? Our sources, the Small Business Administration, the Department of Education, and the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee. That committee is a government agency tasked with tracking how pandemic relief funds get used. Out of a total 11.5 million PPP loans, more than 10 million were fully or partially forgiven. And the agency calculated that the average amount forgiven was $72,500. So where did Sanders get the 95,000 figure? Well, that was the average as of last year, when only about 4 million loans had been forgiven. Since then, millions of smaller loans have been processed, bringing the average down, according to the Small Business Administration. But when it comes to student loans, the max most people can get forgiven under Biden's plan is 20 grand. So even with the lower 72 grand figure for PPP loans, we can verify, yes, the average amount forgiven for PPP loans is greater than $20,000. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.